Tonight, we dive into a story at the heart of America's polarization, a conflict that's not just political, but deeply personal for many young people across the nation. It's an ideological clash erupting on school campuses, where the next generation is shaping the future of American discourse. On one side stands Turning Point USA, or TPUSA, a conservative youth group that champions free markets, limited government, and traditional values. Over the past decade, TPUSA has built a strong presence in high schools and colleges, recruiting thousands of students to its cause. TPUSA regularly hosts high-profile speakers and organizes events to challenge what they call left-wing academic orthodoxy. Their goal is to create space for conservative students who feel silenced or marginalized on campus, and to spark debate on controversial issues. Opposing them is By Any Means Necessary, or BAMN, a socialist anti-fascist group that advocates militant action for immigrant rights, affirmative action, and broader social justice causes. BAMN believes that certain types of speech, especially what they label as fascist, racist, or hateful, must be confronted and disrupted, not simply debated in the marketplace of ideas. These groups represent the extremes of America's political divide, each viewing the other as a direct threat to the nation's core values and future. TPUSA frames itself as a defender of free speech and open dialogue, while BAMN sees TPUSA as promoting a dangerous exclusionary agenda that must be resisted at all costs. For BAMN, the fight is about stopping what they see as a threat to civil rights and social progress, not just engaging in debate for debate's sake. This fundamental disagreement over the boundaries of speech and the necessity of action is fueling fiery confrontations and shaping the culture wars on campuses across the country. The battleground is shifting from college campuses to high school hallways as the front lines of political activism move ever younger. BAMN, a group known for its confrontational tactics, recently voted to expand its campaign against TPUSA into K-12 public schools, starting with Berkeley High School, a place already steeped in a legacy of protest. BAMN leaders argue that TPUSA is actively recruiting in high schools, so they believe they must intervene early to counter what they call fascist indoctrination before it takes root among impressionable teens. Their plan is to organize students, train them in protest tactics, and disrupt or shut down any TPUSA presence in these schools before it can gain momentum. This escalation raises deep concerns among parents and educators who worry about bringing militant tactics and heated political battles into environments meant for minors' safety, learning, and personal growth. Berkeley's long history of activism makes this move especially significant, but targeting high schoolers marks a new and controversial step in the city's protest culture. Supporters say they're empowering students to resist hate speech and stand up for their values, giving them a voice in shaping their school environment. But critics fear it politicizes and endangers young people, exposing them to adult conflicts and potentially divisive ideologies before they're ready. Many worry students are being drawn into adult conflicts, turning schools into political battlegrounds instead of places for learning and growth. The debate rages on. Is this protection from harmful ideas or just another form of indoctrination? The consequences for students caught in the middle are still unfolding, leaving many to wonder what the future holds for activism in America's schools. BAMN's move into high schools marked a new chapter in the ongoing struggle over free speech and activism in America's educational institutions. The group, known for its confrontational tactics, began organizing students and rallying support, determined to make their voices heard beyond college campuses. This push into high schools came on the heels of a violent clash at UC Berkeley, a university long seen as a battleground for free expression and protest. On November 10, 2025, tensions erupted when a TPUSA event became the scene of chaos. BAMN and allied groups mobilized, determined to shut it down, and the campus braced for confrontation. The demonstration quickly spiraled out of control. Masked protesters blocked entryways, heated arguments escalated into physical altercations, and police were forced to intervene to restore order. Multiple arrests followed, including Jihad de Frapaules, who was accused of stealing a necklace from an attendee wearing a Freedom t-shirt, a nod to the late TPUSA founder Charlie Kirk, whose legacy still looms large over the movement. For TPUSA, this was more than just a theft. It was a symbolic act that deepened their sense of grievance and underscored what they saw as a growing threat to their right to speak freely. BAMN, on the other hand, declared the protest a resounding success, claiming they had managed to halt the spread of what they called hateful and dangerous ideology on campus. Each side interpreted the night's events through a different lens. One saw violent suppression of free speech, while the other viewed it as a righteous stand for social justice and community safety. The incident left the campus scarred, both physically and emotionally, and thrust the debate over free speech, protest, and safety into the national spotlight, sparking heated discussions across the country. The fallout was immediate. A campus divided, trust eroded, and the stage set for further escalation as both sides dug in their heels. The question remains, where is the line between protest and violence, and who gets to decide when it's been crossed? The answers are as divided as the country itself, with no easy resolution in sight. At the center of BAMN's campaign is Yvette Falarca, a Berkeley high school teacher and outspoken activist. Falarca led the push to expand BAMN's operations into K-12 schools, urging followers to stop fascist recruiting by any means necessary. Her activism is marked by legal battles, including a viral 2016 protest altercation, and multiple court cases, some resulting in fines and community service. Critics argue her record makes her unfit to influence students. Supporters see her as a fearless leader against fascism. Falarca's dual role as teacher and militant activist puts her at the heart of the debate over where activism ends and professional responsibility begins. Her leadership galvanizes BAMN, but also intensifies controversy around the group's tactics. As BAMN targets high schools, Falarca's influence is more scrutinized than ever. The question, should a public school teacher lead militant activism on campus? The UC Berkeley protest was no accident. It was a coordinated effort by at least 7 groups, with BAMN at the helm. Flyers were distributed by the United for Equality and Affirmative Action Legal Defense Fund, BAMN's nonprofit umbrella. The coalition included groups like Gabriella Berkeley, Jewish Voice for Peace, Koreans for Decolonization, and Students for Socialism. This alliance united organizations with varied agendas under anti-fascism, mobilizing a large, diverse crowd. Attorney Ronald Cruz described their strategy recruiting participants classroom by classroom, boasting BAMN's leadership. The planned multi-group disruption is now central to legal challenges and a federal investigation. The protest's scale and coordination reveal a movement capable of significant organized direct action. Listen to both sides, and you'll hear 2 irreconcilable visions of American rights. TPUSA's Andrew Colvett calls BAMN's campaign a conspiracy to silence free speech, especially alarming as confrontations move into high schools. TPUSA sees itself as the victim of harassment and violence for expressing conservative views, defending open discourse as essential to democracy. BAMN's Yvette Falarca frames their actions as civil rights defense, arguing that some speech is violence and must be stopped. BAMN believes TPUSA's platform endangers marginalized communities, so no platform for fascists is a call to action, not censorship. Attorney Ronald Cruz calls BAMN a militant group leading community self-defense. For BAMN, the right to be free from hate can supersede free speech. This clash over where to draw the line is why these groups are on a collision course. The stakes, the very definition of rights and freedoms in America. The violence at UC Berkeley has triggered a federal civil rights investigation. The Trump administration is probing whether BAMN and its allies conspired to deprive TPUSA members of their constitutional rights through coercion and intimidation. U.S. Assistant Attorney for Civil Rights Harmeet Dhillon is leading the inquiry, focusing on the protest's premeditated nature and BAMN's leadership role. This elevates the conflict from campus dispute to federal case, with potential for serious legal consequences. The investigation tests how civil rights law applies to political protests, usually used to protect marginalized groups, now invoked for conservatives. Critics call it politically motivated. Supporters say it's a necessary defense of free speech. The outcome could set new precedents for law enforcement and protest rights. One thing is clear: the government now sees these clashes as more than protests. They're potential conspiracies to violate constitutional rights. Beneath the protests lies a murky issue: the use of non-profit status by politically active groups. BAMN operates under a 501c3 non-profit, the United for Equality and Affirmative Action Legal Defense Fund, granting tax-exempt status and public legitimacy. Other coalition groups, like Gabriella Berkeley and Jewish Voice for Peace, also benefit from non-profit status. Critics argue these groups exploit charitable status to fund political warfare, possibly violating IRS rules that prohibit partisan activity and illegal acts. The IRS faces pressure to scrutinize whether these organizations are abusing their status for partisan agendas. The federal investigation may force a closer look at how these groups are funded and whether their activities cross legal lines. The line between charity and politics is blurrier than ever. Where does this leave us? The conflict between BAMN and TPUSA is more than isolated incidents. It's a symptom of America's deeper divisions. As clashes move from colleges to high schools, we're forced to confront what free speech means and who decides its limits. Some fear shutting down speech sets a dangerous precedent. Others argue that protecting vulnerable communities requires direct action. The debate: is free expression a shield for hate, or is silencing it a threat to democracy? Schools, meant to prepare the next generation, are now battlegrounds for these questions. The challenge is balancing freedom and safety, open debate, and the rejection of hate. There are no easy answers, only hard conversations. As these confrontations play out, the nation must decide what kind of country it wants to be. The future of American democracy may depend on how we answer.